Hello and welcome to Economic Forum, where we discuss various issues affecting our economy in Zimbabwe. These can be issues to do with tourism, agriculture, education, manufacturing. We bring them all here and analyze how they affect our economy in Zimbabwe. My name is John Masogo. Today we would like to look at the emancipation and empowerment of women. The month of March has been declared the International Women's Month, and the day of 8th March every year is International Women's Day. This is when the whole world takes stock of how we are developing our women folk who were otherwise lagging behind in many spheres in many parts of the world. And today we have a guest who has also traveled as a woman with all the ups and downs that have been faced by different women. Sarah Tembedza, welcome to Economic Forum.
Thank you very much, John, for welcoming me to this powerful forum, especially where we are celebrating women in all spheres of life.
Our starting point is, who is Sarah Tembedza in all this journey of the empowerment of women? Just a little bit about yourself.
Thank you very much. Sarah is an entrepreneur, is a trainer, is a former banker who was coming from human resources. I'm also one of those products of women's wisdom and entrepreneurship way back, even before hyperinflation when I was growing up. My mother was into entrepreneurship. She used to knit jerseys. She used to sell dovi. She used to sell, we had a tuck shop. So I come from that background where, as a woman, self-reliance is in my DNA.
Let's look at your time when you were in the bank. You were a banker and you also went into human resources. And you ended up even on the women's desk. Just take us through that journey with regards to the place of women wherever you went to. I know you worked at different banks, but what did you observe about the rise of women or the sidelining, if it was there, and other things that you would like to share on this program?
When I was manning the women's desk in 2012, in 2012, Reserve Bank pushed an agenda on financial inclusion, where there was a realization that only about 14% of the SMEs were using the banks. The other ones were just using informal sectors for keeping their monies, for saving, and were not actually benefiting anything from the financial services sector. So there was a strategy, a 5-year strategy from Reserve Bank to say, let's go to the low end of the market. And there was a special desk at each bank which was looking at what products can we offer to women and how can we do it. Because remember, women are coming from a history of they don't own title of anything. The information on how they should run business, even now after that campaign, it's still low. So it was a campaign to say, what financial literacy can we give to the women so that they can scale up their businesses? So we came up with products, and I remember very well, my first visit was in Buera, and it was our pilot. We worked with an NGO, and we gave loans to a number of women because we were funding groundnuts and maize. And of those, because why financial services were not lending, it's because these are considered to be high risk. Because remember, they don't have the security required by traditional banks. So we took that risk as a bank and lended to these women. And I can tell you, we broke the record in that 90% of the women who we lended to actually paid back their loans. And when we did the second round and the third round, we saw them improving. And we had testimonies of women who said, I have sent my children to school. And one thing about women is when they get into business, they get in with their heart, with their mind, with everything. Such that when we were when they were being taught about chicken, because we were funding the chicken projects, and they would take even their blankets to cover the fowl run so that the mortality would be low. And after 2 years or so of training them, we saw them now taking their eggs for hatching. And now they are self-sustained, they are owning their own hatcheries, small hatcheries, and they are making things happen. So what it taught me is equipped with information and support, women can scale up their business to anything.
You were also in HR when you were in banking, and obviously the women you worked with looked up to you whenever they brought some of their issues affecting their welfare and so forth. How did you handle them as a woman in HR in a fair and balanced way, but making sure that your women folk also develop? I'm sure that must have been very interesting for you.
Apparently, the way a woman is wired and the way a man is wired are different. And in the absence of that information, we confuse things in the workplace or even at home. So with that knowledge, I always told myself that I have to raise another woman. So whenever I got an opportunity, I would raise another woman. And I would educate the heads of department to say, when you are dealing with a man, you give them a task one at a time, because that's how they are wired. When you are dealing with a woman, you can give them multitasks, because a woman can actually feed their child while they are cooking. They can also be on the phone. They will be thinking about something else. That's the beauty and the special creation of a woman. So you find that in the absence of that, in communication, we always then collide as to why is this man not doing 2-3 things at the same time. So you notice that in my banking, I've worked for about 6 banks. And at one bank, I'm so happy because the founder then realized that women actually do better because we have the ability to pay attention to detail. That's why when we are looking after children from 0 to 12, it's usually a mother's area, because we pay attention to detail. Why are you not bathing? Why have you not done this? We do that very well. And the bigger things, just the discipline, where maybe you need a father to shambok, that's when they come in. So as a woman, I knew we have other areas that take our time as a working woman. And I would say to them, homework, for example, do the homework on the phone, so that by the time you go home, you create a little bit of time to play with your child, because they've already done the homework while you're at work at lunchtime. So being a working woman is something that I was experiencing and imparting.
As Sarah Tembedza, who is an entrepreneur, talking to us about emancipation and empowerment of women as we recognize the role that is played by women in our lives. The month of March is International Women's Month, and the day 8th of March is annually celebrated as International Women's Day. So join us in the second segment of Economic Forum. Welcome to the second segment of Economic Forum, where we discuss various issues affecting our economy in Zimbabwe. And today we are talking about the emancipation and empowerment of women. How have we progressed in that area in Zimbabwe and the whole world? We have Sarah Tembedza here, who is an entrepreneur, who has also gone through the struggles that most women have gone through. After leaving the bank, you then decided to be an entrepreneur in your own right. You went into farming, you went into mining and other things that really needs the stamina of men. But you managed. Tell us more about that.
Thank you very much, John. When I left the bank, I went into entrepreneurship. I saw myself being exposed to fuel, farming, as you have mentioned. And I'm a town girl, so these were new things to me. But what I noticed is that women, this is a male-dominated area. So when leading men in that area, number one, they think you don't know what you're doing. But because of the banking background, I understand most businesses because you would be banking them. So as you read the proposals, you understand what they are into. So now I was on the other side of the counter, and in the first few days, you would realize that men would not play ball. But because of my training and the confidence within myself, I then realized I have to make these guys respect me, not because I'm a woman, but because I can do the job. So over time, I then managed to start working with them very well and to see results. And the women who were like at the lower levels, you notice that because traditionally women's roles are defined by religion, defined by society. Culture, yeah. So when you're a mother, people expect you, even in the boardroom, when there's tea to be poured, they will say, Sarah, please pour the tea. When the secretary hasn't come in on time, they'll say, please take minutes for us. But for me, naturally, I just don't like taking minutes. And I would say no, not because I'm disrespecting, but it's just not in me. So there are certain things, certain mindsets that need to still be worked on in our male counterparts. They say if you want to be fully empathy or empathizing, you need to remove your shoes first before you can wear the shoes of the person you want to empathize with. So it would help for anyone who wants to celebrate women or to prop them up to also wear the shoes or take time to understand how we are wired. So entrepreneurship, in my view, is important to any government, in the sense that we increase our GDP when we are all serious about innovating, about producing things or replacing imports. So for as long as we are not really focusing on entrepreneurship, we find ourselves importing more things and exporting very little.
You talked about mindset, probably attitudes.
Yeah.
Is it all men who are not supportive of women? Don't you also find men who really are on your side? Because each time we hear about your struggles, it's the oppression by men. Is it all men?
Definitely not. There are a good number of men who have embraced that women can do the same, can do even better. Because remember, over the years, we now have women in aviation, we have women in security, we have women in all these male-dominated areas.
In presidency.
We even have women. Today, what I feel right now is to celebrate even this $1-a-day deal woman who has managed to send their children to school as part of entrepreneurship. And I always say in my mind, if they are given the resources, the training, and all they require, they can make businesses that will outlive them at any given time. But because of the situations, they remain where they are because maybe the support, the finances are not readily available because of the financial inclusion issues I spoke about earlier on.
Sarah, let's talk about some of the things that can be a drawback to women. Your views, your observations about women and self-reliance, women and self-confidence, just being self-confident as a woman or being self-reliant, which we have really delved a lot about, but in summary.
My belief is that, as I said earlier on, society sometimes defines how we do things. And confidence, especially in running businesses, is affected by lack of enough knowledge of what you are into, lack of understanding of what is being offered by the environment. We do have an SME desk where you can get all the information, but if we are to ask, not so many people know how to get to their offices, how to access Facebook, how to go on Google to search for these solutions. Usually when I give talks to women, I ask people who are, for example, in chicken rearing, the broiler running, and I say, what is your break-even point? They don't even understand what I'll be talking about. What is your business plan? Do you have a strategy? What is your salary? We just get into business and we say, I'm making money. If you say, how much are you making? They will tell you of the sales figure or of the liquidity figure because there is little training. So that then affects the confidence of women doing business. And I still think we need to go deeper and say, how can we pass on this information for them to do better because they're doing excellent. We can do it any minute.
That's Sarah Tembedza, who is an entrepreneur. We are discussing the emancipation and empowerment of women as we recognize and realize that the month of March is International Women's Month, and the day 8th of March every year is recognized as the International Women's Day. So join us in the third and final segment of Economic Forum with Sarah Tembedza. We are now in the third and final segment of Economic Forum, where today we are discussing about women and their emancipation and empowerment. The theme for the year 2023 is Digital, which is innovation and technology for gender equality. Our guest, Sarah Tembedza, will very briefly unpack that as she understands it.
In terms of Digital, what we must embrace is that disruptive technology is here to stay. Whatever we do is now governed by technology. It is now the easy way of doing business. So as women, I notice we are below a third in that space.
Yes.
Yet everyone, men and women, we need to scale up the way we understand technology. Mainly because whatever we do is driven by technology. And when I talk of disruptive technology, I'm merely saying innovations are happening every millisecond. We have people that were in the space or who began with the phones. I remember the first phone that I had is obviously not the same that I have now. There is a vast difference.
You had a goat, Mbudzi.
I had a goat.
Yes.
Not even a goat, there was a worse one.
Yes.
And now,
A brick.
that's the name.
Yeah.
And now we have all these fancy Android which can diarize. You know, I was freaked out when I was planning for this event. Whether they'll be listening to you, I don't know, but it takes my diary. It reminds me what I'm going to do on that particular day anyway. My point is that disruptive technology is all about someone innovating every day how to penetrate the underserviced areas. So what it means is it's no longer those with a lot of money or the big businesses that are now successful. But it's those people, that small person who is at university, who is thinking of how can I disrupt this business, who is going to make it. And usually we have a tendency of just relaxing as existing players. When there's a change, we don't quickly respond. We just watch it, or we just say, I don't think it has much dent to my business. But only those who are on their toes about change, who are responsive to change, are going to make it. And I want to say to my fellow women, change is here to stay, innovation is here to stay. We need to move from asking my child to change channels for me, to really doing it myself, and to be challenging the status quo of my systems and operations of how I run my business. Every day, I must rethink how I'm doing things. I must unthink my old ways, which are not including digital way of doing business. That way, I will be in line with what's happening globally.
Sarah, you cannot leave Economic Forum without telling us about your recent visit to India. You got a full fellowship from the Indian Embassy in order to talk about some of these things regarding entrepreneurship, regarding the upliftment of women and so forth. Tell us about this, what you took to India and what you brought back home.
Thank you very much. On 16th of January this year, I got an opportunity to be amongst 20 countries, and we were 31 students in that class. And the whole idea was to promote entrepreneurship, innovation through incubation. Incubation was not so much I was accustomed to, which is what I'm definitely bringing back to the country. So the forum was to say, as Africa and Asia, we usually allow our raw materials to be taken and then processed and brought back to us at a higher price. And what I learned was that the government of India is at the helm of supporting the incubators. The incubators are virtual and physical workspaces which have been created for startups. When you've got an idea, they make sure there's someone with an intellectual property qualification to secure your idea. No one will steal it. They are lawyers, they are marketers, they are financiers, they are data analysts in that lab or incubator. So for a good 1 year to 3 years, your idea is critiqued, your idea is ready for the market if it has to go to the market. If it's not fit, you are also told nicely that it's not fit. So that training awakened within me the fact that, because we then did a short research while we are there, we realized that as Zimbabwe, we went into entrepreneurship, especially women, without incubation. So what that means is our growth is slow. So what I'm bringing back is that we need to say, for those that are in business, what is it that they are lacking? And we, in our short survey, we realized funding and education is what is lacking and what the entrepreneurs require. So we will accelerate those that are already in business through working with the SMEs and also working with the ones that have actually said, I know what I'm doing already, I just need technical skill and education. And remember, our young children, unemployment rate is very, very high. So what we learned from our 6 weeks is that we have to create the employment by encouraging innovation. That's why at most universities, we must have innovation hubs and we must have incubators, use those ideas to generate employment.
Sarah Tembedza, an entrepreneur who has been our guest on this program, where we were discussing the emancipation and empowerment of women, as we recognize that the month of March is International Women's Month, and a day in that month, the 8th of March, is celebrated as International Women's Day. So today we've been talking about all matters to do with women with Sarah Tembedza. What remains is for me to ask you or to request you to get in touch with us on the numbers that are showing on your screen, or to engage us on the social media platforms that are also showing on your screen. If you miss some of our episodes, you can view them on Economic Forum Zimbabwe on our YouTube channel. So on behalf of Sarah Tembedza, as well as the production crew, this is John Masugu wishing you happy viewing.